8 vehicles damaged after a semi-trailer crash. More anger expressed over the Repentance Day ad. And pictures tonight of the shabby conditions policemen live in.
This is National EMTV News with Tokana Hasavi.
A very good evening to you and thanks for joining me. This is Tuesday's news. A driver of a semi-trailer is in a critical condition at the Port Moresby General Hospital following a nasty accident this morning. Eyewitnesses say the truck lost control, crossed its lane, overturned and crashed into vehicles parked near the road. The semi-trailer was carrying gravel to a road construction site.
Traffic this morning at Konidobu was slow following the accident. The semi-trailer was on its way to dispose the gravel it had on board when all hell broke loose. Eyewitness Gagi Mark was selling cigarettes near the road when she saw the truck beginning to lose control. Gagi is lucky to survive without injuries as the effect of the collision rippled through the cars parked in the area. Fortunately, vehicle owners were not in their cars when the accident happened. The driver of the semi-trailer was rushed to the hospital for treatment. The semi-trailer belongs to an Asian construction company, KTI. The company rep was reluctant to talk on camera but says they will allow police to investigate the matter. Some owners of the car say they will sue the Asian company for the damage caused. However, other drivers within the area say the cars were illegally parked in that area. This brings to light the risk of illegal parking in and around the city of Port Moresby. Meantime, police say the driver of the semi-trailer will be dealt with after he is discharged from the hospital. Jaglapava Junior National EMTV News.
Intentions to destroy cultural artifacts on National Prayer Day have been strongly condemned by the National Cultural Commission. Similar positions have been expressed by the National Council of Churches and PNG's founding father, Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare. NCC Director Dr. Jacob Simet described this as Waigani madness, saying NCC is mandated by its act to protect all cultural heritage of the country. Dr. Simet further described this as an act of cultural genocide.
The opening lines of the two-page paid advertisement yesterday called for all Papua New Guineans to surrender objects used in idol worship and witchcraft to be destroyed on August 26, which is tomorrow. Today, National Cultural Commission called a news conference to make their position known, saying all cultural heritages are protected by the country's constitution. While the office is yet to confirm the source of the statement, it says the tone of that statement targets the cultures of this country. National Cultural Commission Director Dr. Jacob Simet made reference to the Speaker's office when condemning this intention.
Whether this is being done by the Speaker himself, that is why, or by other people, or by his office. It's all supposed to happen tomorrow. Now you begin to wonder what is going to be smashed down, what is going to be cut down, what is going to be burnt tomorrow.
Dr. Simet said a number of institutions were created to be responsible for the cultures, and the intentions of the government also include those provisions in the organic law.
Constitutional mandate. We are given the authority and the power by the Constitution to protect the cultures of the people of this country.
The past few years, there's been more and more concern, more and more lack of tolerance. The Constitution is very, very clear, as Jacob explained, about tolerating, accepting, respecting all sorts of religious beliefs, or none at all.
The National Cultural Commission says it is its right to duty to protect and preserve one's cultural heritage. NCC says it is also a violation of Section 45 of the Constitution, which states that there should be freedom of conscience, thought and religion. PNG will mark the country's National Day of Repentance tomorrow with a ceremony to be held at the National Parliament. The banning of objects is expected to be done during the prayer service tomorrow. Michelle Amba, National EMTV News.
Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare was furious when he was alerted about the newspaper advert, since it was he who initiated the National Day of Prayer in 2007 when he was Prime Minister. He said churches should instead collect offering to give to national disaster areas. He also threatened to take the Speaker, Theodore Zurino, to court over the issue.
Covenant does not mean that Somare said we have to change things. People are misusing my name. If I want to sue, I'll sue Zurino for using my name wrongly by saying that's what I said.
The National Day of Repentance includes the burning of objects used in idol worshipping and witchcraft, and also the collecting of the Aliyah offering. Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare has condemned these actions. He said the National Day of Repentance, when first signed in 2007, was intended for the country to come together for prayer and repentance.
Yes, me being Prime Minister at that time, all churches can bring together, only talk, me play like one play day, me play makim. Now only talk Covenant Day. Covenant Day, you know, talk all the same. But by me play interpreting Bible, the way me play believe Bible was written. That doesn't mean that, you know.
He questioned why the Repentance Day would burn down idols that have been a part of our culture and identity before independence and the taking of the Aliyah offering, saying that the Speaker and other churches are misleading the people of Papua New Guinea.
Or something belong to Mona. Suppose you go along Israel, now you go along Egypt, you look him or something belong all get something. One play big play man or like Eban, and be writing one play book. Writing book, yeah, me talk long all get something belong to Mona belong all. Only honor him something belong to Mona belong all. Me no talk all same, but me play mas rouse him or something belong to Mona belong me play. Me play tradition, me play a culture. They're a prosperous country, they're a very rich country, they're very clever people. They don't need our money. Papua New Guinea man marry long place. He like him lick bucket water. He like him lick saucepan belong cook or something. Why people selling money go on narpla?
Anglican Bishop and Chairman of PNG Council of Churches, Bishop Danny Bray, warned the people behind this that they would end up bringing a religious war to Papua New Guinea. He also went on to explain who was first behind the National Day of Repentance and how particular groups had other intentions for this day.
People use their religious ideas to get our innocent people to put money. And I'm warning everyone, including those pastors who are working with the Speaker to promote this unity. We fully support the idea of unity. That's what we want to stand for. That's what the gospel preaches.
Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare has asked the people of Papua New Guinea to pray for the country during the National Repentance Day. Adelaide Xerox Kari, National EMTV News.
As Madang's crime problems worsen, some police officers continue to live in condemned housing. There is now a growing number living in settlements or in their offices. EMTV Scott White has spoke to two officers, one of whom has been living on a ship that is due for maintenance.
Madang's town police station and the men and women who work within it are central to law enforcement. But their welfare and housing has been an issue long debated and largely ignored for the last 10 years. In the last 5, Madang's ballooning population has outpaced the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary's ability to maintain law and order. The police force is short-staffed and it's plagued with an embarrassingly chronic housing problem. Madang's provincial police commander, Sylvester Kalaut, admits that staff morale is at an all-time low and police officers are working an average of 16 hours a day with limited rest time.
Kusbawa Police Barracks is a rundown police barracks. We have about 8 families living in the condemned police houses. And the houses have been condemned, but where else can we move them to?
Constable Gideon Seri Ati, who works at the station's public safety section, is one of the human faces of Madang's police housing problem. His office is also his home.
So we come and no garap pangkaman salimi kam so mi kam si pangkaman office na mi work same time. Kabot blumi all. Kabot blumi, uniform blumi. All stuff. All bag blumi.
Constable Ati's family doesn't live with him. The accommodation problem has forced his wife and young son to live separated from him in Goroka.
Fridge, chair.
So time you like sleeping, so make us.
And time you like sleeping, moving. Tabula con los hechos, let me just sleep. Leia, no flota solo.
At the town's waterfront, on board the old Lutheran shipping vessel, the Mamose, another police constable, Elimas Boni, has made one of the ship's cabin his home.
Me come stop, them no got accommodation stop, so me blast stop round go na. All some all boy look, crew blast ship here, look at me stop round the family. Go na all talk okay. You come stop one time me blalian.
In February, he moved in with his family. Last week, his wife and children left him.
Some frustration, me blast stop there last week and tap. Paul Lusimi, peke mo ko takakablol because lo waran kan sim place lo cook. Mi blano sa cook good na kay mi blas sa baim kay get solo stock kam kay sleep. Mani kirap ko abinon one kind. Go na Lusimi na go.
Constable Boni is a casualty of district priorities. He was evicted from his previous residence at Transgogol outside of Medang and forced to move into town after the district decided to move another government officer into the house that he was occupying. Constable Boni of the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary has now been forced to squat on a ship undergoing maintenance. The Medang police housing problem is not a new issue. It's been dragging on for 10 years. Now, every time this issue is raised, it brings out immediate promises of solutions with little action. Now, Medang represents just the tip of a massive police housing problem that begs for an investigation. In Bumbu Barracks in Ley, several duplexes stand incomplete. In at least 2 Highlands provinces, contractors have abandoned work. Scott Waide, National EMTV News, Medang.
Among more stories coming up after this break, locals in Medang support their MP Ken Fairweather in peace talks, and NMSA detained a vessel 5 years after its arrival in the country. Details when we come back. Good to have you back with the news. Community members of the Sumkar electorate, upon hearing about allegations made to their MP Ken Fairweather yesterday by lawyer Brian Wafi, gathered at the Jomba police station today and presented food items to Wafi's representatives. This, they say, is to show that they support their MP to reconcile and make peace.
This is after allegations made to their MP Ken Fairweather by lawyer Brian Wafi was settled at the Jomba police station yesterday. Food said to be worth more than 1,000 kina, which includes a live pig, was given to representatives of Mr. Wafi by the people of Sumkar. Leaders of both sides exchanged words in this reconciliation in the presence of police officers. Mr. Fairweather and Mr. Wafi were not present at this ceremony today. Meanwhile, words from Mr. Fairweather's lawyer, Yang Wadau, still stands that Mr. Fairweather will be compensating the lawyer, Brian Wafi, for verbally abusing him.
They both apologize to one another, there's no more problem, but we have to really come to some compromise as to what mode of compensation that would be suitable for Brian Wafi.
Rachel Shise, National EMTV News, Medang.
The National Maritime Safety Authority detained the passenger vessel MV Ijivitari in Oro Province last week for failing to produce legal documents on inspection. The vessel was purchased in 2010 from DSIP funds by the Ijivitari Open member and, according to NMSA, has remained non-operational since its arrival into the country.
Excessive use of public funds to purchase shipping vessels from foreign countries has become a serious concern for the Maritime Authority. Maritime Standards and Compliance Manager Joseph Piawan, who flew to Oro Province to inspect and detain MV Ijivitari, said an increasing number of government authorities and entities are engaging second-hand shipping vessels from foreign countries which are unseaworthy, lacking proper documentation, or not suitable for the environment. One such example, he says, is MV Ijivitari, a small passenger ship purchased through the Open Members Office with DSIP funds, but NMSA has received reports that it has not operated since it arrived 5 years ago. District authorities on ground were unable to provide the ship's documentation upon request, hence resulting in its detainment.
We found out that the vessel was lying idle there, but when we asked for the documents, ship's documents, the ship had no documents on board, and nobody could produce the documents. So on that ground, we detained the ship.
Piawan said this is becoming a trend in most maritime provinces and is a waste of public funds.
I just wonder whether these, MPs have proper plannings. How are they going to use these expensive machineries for the benefit of the people? And after the MP is gone, after 5 years, where are the machineries after that? And there's no stock take of all this, the public properties. And maybe that MP is going up with the properties and the next MP comes in buying another lot of machineries again. All this is waste of public funds.
Meanwhile, Ijivitari District Works Coordinator Francis Dira confirmed that the ship experienced setbacks in management and maintenance, causing its 5-year redundancy at Oro Bay. He told MTV News in an interview this afternoon that the primary initiative when purchasing the vessel from Japan was a positive one to service people in the coastal electorates who needed sea transport, especially for cocoa, fish and even school students. He also noted that the vessel made its first and only voyage in 2011 to Tufi, approved by the then Joint District Budget Priorities Committee. A private shipping firm was to be engaged to manage shipping operations, but the vessel experienced obstructions in leakages, poor suitability to the province's sea conditions, theft of safety equipment and compensation demands from locals who claim to provide security. Mr. Dira says the current Ijivitari District Development Authority recently convened on the matter and have decided to sell the ship with the intention of purchasing another vessel in better condition and suitable to the local environment, but says plans to do so will be affected following the ship's detainment by the maritime authorities. Vanessa Knight, National, MTV News.
The Kokopo Sexual Offence Office has recorded an increase in sexual-related crimes over the last 3 years in East New Britain Province. Since 2012, the Kokopo Sexual Offence Squad attends to about 9 sexual penetration cases every month. Almost all of them are committed by an adult on a child below the age of 10. MTV's Edwin Fidelis reports.
At the Sexual Offence Office in Kokopo, Sergeant Joe Bimaru is working on a criminal profile of a sexual penetration case. It is one of at least 9 sexual-related cases reported every month involving children as young as 6 years old.
As far as the record speaks, the youngest should be around 6 years old, or even 4. They've been abused, like they've been sexually touched. And that's one of the crimes too, sexual touching.
Every week the Sexual Offence Squad attends to similar cases, most of them involving children. Maximum penalty for any sexual violence involving minor is more than 25 years in jail, and much of this crime is being committed by people in authority of trust within the family.
Nature of crime we get here in Sweden is sexual penetration. Most of them are minors that are under the age of 16. They are under care, trust, and then you turn around to abuse them again.
Since taking office in 2012, the number of reported cases haven't changed much, but the office is already beginning to face a new challenge. Sergeant Bimaru and his team believes most of the cases might be solved out of court or were never reported at all because of threat issued by the perpetrator to the victim. Do you think solving sexual crime out of court is one of the contributing factors towards this decline?
Yes, it's happening like this in the village. People are turning to the way of out of court settlement. That's why I think we don't receive reports to this office. Some of them, they don't come and report it. They solve it in the village, in the community, this is wrong. They should come to the police.
Solving sexual-related offences out of court through compensation payments means allowing the offender to go free without being charged, and the chances for the perpetrator to recommit the same offence is very high. The Kokopo Sexual Offence Squad is depending largely on those cases that are reported to them so that it can be pursued in court. But according to the police, there are many victims who haven't spoken out yet. Edwin Fidelis, National EMTV News, Kokopo.
And now we take a look at the finance news. The Guinea closed unchanged at $0.3595 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, our Guinea was trading at $0.3520, $0.4898 Australian dollars, 0.3 euro and 41.30 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold and copper closed the day lower, while coffee and cocoa closed the day higher. Palm oil, crude oil and copper all closed the day lower. And finally, on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 588 points higher, the ASX closed at 210 points higher, and the All Ordinaries closed at 213 points higher as well. You're watching National EMTV News tonight. We'll continue with the day's other top stories when we come back. Stay tuned for the details. Thanks for your company and welcome back to the news. City Pharmacy Limited reached out to the Nepalese community in Port Moresby today, presenting a cheque of 63,000 kina to assist with earthquake relief efforts. Over 8,000 people have died following the 7.8 and 7.3 magnitude earthquakes that struck Nepal in April and May this year. MTV's Alana Lay with this report.
Nepal is moving on from its devastating earthquakes, reopening Mount Everest for the first time since the earthquakes at the weekend to begin restoring its tourism sector. CPL Group Chairman Mahesh Patel praised Papua New Guinea's Nepalese community for introducing many agricultural prospects that benefit local farmers. Having personally visited Nepal, Patel directly related to the sorrows of the villagers whose homes were completely wiped out. The 63,000 kina contribution is equivalent to over 2 million Nepalese rupees, which the Nepalese Association aims to contribute towards Nepal's current construction phase as the country works on rebuilding infrastructure.
We cannot do much, but whatever we can do, we can definitely assist with building those who have mostly lost their family and the house. We have said we will rebuild the 1,000 houses and give it to you, and all the food, tents, who had been, who don't have the house and is staying outside, and also we are supporting more, and we have taken some medical experienced staff from Australia to support them for medical term and condition, and so a lot of things is going on.
Mr. Shahi and the Nepalese Association sincerely thanked CPL and Chairman Mahesh Patel, noting that the contribution is the biggest out of the 70 Nepalese associations around the world. Alana Lay, MTV World News.
Auditor General Philip Nauga says laws made in the 70s don't give his office sufficient powers to check spending and accountability of public money. With increasing national budgets, laws governing the functions of the Auditor General's office have been weak. The office has lacked the powers to pull together the resources it needs to monitor public money spending by bureaucrats and politicians.
Outdated laws made over 20 years ago have prevented the Auditor General's office to pull together resources to check public funds spent. There is now a public consultation being held by the office to review these laws and change them. Auditor General Philip Nauga, while speaking today to the invited lay participants, says the office needs the laws created in the 70s to change. It has slowed them down.
The essence of this review, the present law is lacking that type of resource allocation, for instance, and operational capability. So we are addressing those issues through these reforms.
It comes as the national government increases spending in key sectors of health, education and infrastructure. Over the years, millions of kina has been going into government department coffers
without any form of records coming back to show how the money has been spent. Since independence, there has been allegations of corruption and mismanagement plaguing government departments across the country. The office, tasked to verify these allegations, whether true or false, has been stagnant in its functions because of these weak laws.
The answer we're asking the public, what do you think? Should we go like this and allow government just to give us what they think we should get, or have a law that says we can calculate this is how much we need, and government is now required to provide those resources.
In the last 3 months, the tuition fee-free funding, worth in the millions going into provincial administrations, has come to attention. The national government has since instructed the Auditor General's office to track down the TFF funding, but the office has found that outdated laws limits their reach into provinces. Bethany Harriman, National EMTV News, Leh.
It was a busy afternoon at the Government's House today as 2 agreements were signed by the state and project developers. The first to be signed was the long-awaited Civic Plains oil pump project in the Yangaru Salsia district. The developing company, Kuala Lumpur Kepong, will now start feasibility study into developing an oil palm plantation in the district, spanning between 10 to 15,000 hectares of state and customary land. The second was between the state and China Harbour Engineering Company to build a 15-kilometre 4-lane road from Celtica outside Mount Hagen to Warracommon Bridge at the end of Kagamuga Airport. This road project is valued at nearly 270 million kina. Well, that wraps up our news segment tonight. Stay tuned. We'll bring you True Guys Sports. That's coming up after this break.
True Guys Sports.
Welcome to True Guys Sports. Oceania Rugby and World Rugby today confirmed the suspension of Tahitian loosehead prop Martin Tai after a tip tackle against the PNG Pukpuks in Saturday's match. Oceania Rugby official and tournament director Wayne Schuster confirmed Tai's suspension of 4 weeks in a news conference today in Port Moresby.
Tahiti's loosehead prop had breached a section under the World Rugby laws and regulations after a tip shot on Pukpuk's tight head prop Sarufa Kingsley. Martin Ta'e was yellow carded, however the tackle was cited and brought to the attention of the Judicial Committee. Wayne Schuster, Oceania Rugby Tournament's director, confirmed earlier today the governing body's decision to suspend the player for a total of 4 weeks.
Judiciary hearing was 4 weeks. We do certainly feel, as the Tahiti manager has said, how it's not the nature of the Tahitian team, and I must say over the first 2 games in the first round, the games were played in great spirit, and it was very clean, so to speak, but some of these instances do occur, whether or not it's intentional or not.
Intentional or not, Schuster says World Rugby is beginning to clamp down on foul play.
During the course of the hearing, it was quite conclusive that the player in question put on a tip tackle.
Tahiti's team manager confirmed the high tackle and says it will be difficult for the team to adapt in his absence for the remainder of the tournament.
When a player, our loose head, the number 1, will be punished. So we lost it for this competition, and he's one of the best players because 24 and he play high level. So we have to move a little bit our game plan because we have to change that, but it's a game, no problem.
Meanwhile, PNG Pukpuk's coach Sydney Wesley said it was an issue that remains in the influence of the Judicial Committee.
To comment on that, it's something for the guy with the whistle and his 2 touch judges, and I mean, we've also got somebody responsible for citing and stuff, so can't comment on it. I'll leave that to them. But yeah, things like that happen in a game of rugby. You expect that, but there are people that are responsible to deal with it, so I'll just leave it at that.
Martin Ta'e's sighting was the only breaching confirmed today. Wesley Valley was also victim to a tackle above the line of the shoulders, and Derek Paraka to a number of shoulder charges before scoring the 4th try for Papua New Guinea. Lorraine Guinea, National EMTV Sports.
And the PNG Pukpuks will take on American Samoa tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. at the Sir Hubert Murray Stadium. The game will be televised live on MTV and streamed internationally. Well, still on rugby, their debut match on Saturday has shaken up the competition and has sparked a hunger for American Samoa in their Oceania Cup. Despite American Samoa's limitations, coach Leoti Patu is optimistic that the results from the tournament will spark a growth in the code and also boost the support that they receive from their government to participate in the future Oceania Cup tournaments.
Big stadium where we from, we ever saw. Even the green grass, the field was, pretty much international field and high level stadium, The crowd was there, people was there supporting their own team. The energy when we start that game on our team, it went up because of not only the facility that we saw and the trainings we do and the people like over here in Papua New Guinea. We love over here, We would love to have this kind of competition down there, and that way we can develop our youth, even our rugby in the island, and to, for the government and the supporters to trust us, support us as much as they can, and trust us that we can play on this level. So, yeah, we would love to have that,
Well, there's less than 10 days to go before the 5th Commonwealth Youth Games in Samoa gets underway. Papua New Guinea will send 12 young athletes to participate in 6 different sporting codes: athletics, boxing, tennis, swimming, weightlifting and squash. The Games will feature 1,000 young Commonwealth athletes aged 14 to 18 that will represent their country to compete for gold medals in 9 sports over 5 days from September 5 to the 9th. The PNG Olympic Committee will announce the flag carrier for Team PNG shortly at the farewell dinner at the Tauranga Aquatic Centre. The government is now working on improving sports in the country following the success of the recent Pacific Games. Sports Minister Justin Chichenko said this and added that the government will continue to support the Go for Gold program. NTV's Rafaela Kaure reports.
Since the establishment of the High Performance Training Center last year, 700 athletes, both national and overseas based, used the facilities for the 2015 Pacific Games and they're a success for PNG. With this success from the High Performance Training Center, the athletes were able to train in preparation for the Games. Even after the Pacific Games, the HPTC is still being used by athletes from different sporting codes for upcoming international tournaments. Sports Minister Justin Chichenko last week announced that the government is looking at building a new high-performance training center for our athletes next year.
The government is looking at building a brand new high-performance center on its own at Sejongai's sporting complex, to continue the work that the PNG Olympic Committee have started and to ensure that that moves forward in leaps and bounds.
He also said that the government will continue to fund and support its Go for Gold program through the PNG Olympic Committee and PNG Sports Foundation. Rafaela Kaure, National EMTV Sports.
Well, True Guy Sports continues after this break with more sporting action. Stay with us.
True Guy Sports.
Welcome back to True Guy Sports. In snooker, Marcus Ning retained his title for the 2nd time after defeating Du Fong 4 frames to 0 in the best of 7 frames. Ning set the tone for a one-sided affair from the get-go, taking the first frame 55 points to 35 and wiped the 4th frame 65 points to 26. 20 players competed in the 5th KVN Open. Among them were Port Moresby's Hane Viake and Madeleine Kaina. Both women played well to advance into the top 16. Kelly Onoma and 14-year-old Angelo Fong were awarded the best junior players of the tournament, while Du Fong and Marcus Ning made the highest breaks of 53 and 47 respectively. KVN Town Mayor Stanley Mancini has also pledged his support for next year's competition. To NRL, the Newcastle Knights upset finals contenders the Melbourne Storm 20 points to 8 in Melbourne last night. With only 2 points scored in the second half, the Knights did enough damage in the first half to walk off the pitch victorious. The Storm now sit on 6th place on the NRL points ladder and have 2 challenging matches ahead of them against the North Queensland Cowboys and Brisbane Broncos before the finals.
The Knights went to Melbourne with nothing to lose, sitting at the bottom end of the ladder. And it only took 4 minutes for them to get on the scoreboard through Kurt Gidley.
Going straight through them. Kurt Gidley cracking Melbourne open.
But Melbourne were determined to stay in the contest, and Cameron Munster replied, bouncing off defenders to score just minutes later.
Bounces off the tackle there of Matautia.
With the points levelled at 6-all, Newcastle edged ahead with a penalty and extended the lead even further with 2 tries to Tarek Sims.
There is Tarek Sims charging through them.
And Tyrone Roberts.
Solomona, who's out there. Here's a chance. Roberts, an intercept. Cronk is chasing. Roberts will beat him to the line. What a scoreline this is.
The Knights held off the Storm in the second half and dominated possession of the football, grabbing a late penalty and the win 20 points to 6. Dion Kombang, National EMTV Sports.
Athletics, after a long struggle with injury, Usain Bolt produced a performance to outseed his biggest rival, Justin Gatlin, in the 100-meter World Championships final in Beijing, China. The race ended with a photo finish in what was one of the biggest showdown in years.
Bolt was trailing for almost all of Sunday's race, but with gritted teeth, the 2-time Olympic champion clawed back into contention and made his giant stride count to win the 9.79 seconds. That's 0.1 seconds faster than the American veteran.
For me, it was very important because I'm trying to build to my legend status, and I need to win all my races in every championship. So for me, it was a big deal and I got it done, so I'm happy with myself.
Rising to occasion, as he always does, Bolt recovered well from his poor performance in the semi-final heat, in which he made a slow start.
This race, it was sloppy, but that's because it's just been a long season. I'm race rusty, so it's just a sloppy race, but the key thing is that I won, and that's what I did.
In the finals, 2 lanes to his right, Gatlin was as good as perfect for most of the race, but he was no match for the greatest sprinter in history. This win marks Bolt's 3rd world title in the 100-meter race. At 33, Gatlin had been unbeaten for 2 years, as Bolt struggled with injury. But on the biggest of occasions, luck was with Bolt again.
For the fact that Tyson Gay was between us, but I was trying to just keep my momentum going forward, and I leaned too far forward, especially coming to the finish line, caught myself off balance. By the time I looked over, there was him. He was there, so it came out to be a good race.
In the dead heat for Ted, Trayvon Bromell of the United States and Andre DeGrassi of Canada shared bronze in 9.91 seconds. Shane Saroya, National EMTV Sports.
Well, that wraps up True Guy Sports tonight. Stay tuned. We have the weather details. That's coming up next.
True Guy Sports.
Taking a look at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow in southern region. Fine weather, although cloudy at times expected in Port Moresby. Cloudy periods for Daru, mostly fine in Alota, fine and sunny in Kerema and Popondetta. In Momase, mostly fine expected in Ley City and Alota, while Medang and Wewak to look forward to fine and sunny. In the New Guinea Islands, cloudy weather with brief showers expected in Lorengau, a few showers expected in Kimbe, Kavieng, Buka and Kokopo. And lastly, in the Kavieng Centre, we have a shower or 2 expected. And in the Highlands regional centres to look forward to mostly fine weather, then morning fog. Looking at forecasts for small ships, but first there is a strong wind warning current for all coastal waters of Papua New Guinea, except waters west of Long Island to Madang, to Bogia, to Wewak, Aitape, to Vanimore, and the northern PNG Indonesian border. Looking at waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait, Daru to Kiwai Island, Karama to Yule Island, Put Point to Samurai Islands, Finschhafen, including Vitia Strait, Siasi Islands to Long Island, Manus and its western group of islands, including New Ireland to New Britain and Bougainville, seas of 2.5 meters to 3 meters, waters of eastern and western Milne Bay Islands, seas of 2 to 2.5 meters, waters of Samurai Island to Cape Vogel through to Finschhafen, seas of 2 meters to 3 meters, and waters west of Long Island through to Madang to Wewak, Vanimore and the northern PNG Indonesian border, seas of 0.5 meters to 1.5 meters. And looking at ocean forecasts for PNG areas, Coral Sea, seas rough with southeast winds at 25 to 34 knots with gusts. Solomon Sea, seas rough to rather rough with southeast winds at 20 to 25 knots. Bismarck Sea, seas rough with southeast winds at 20 to 34 knots with gusts. And lastly, Pacific Ocean, seas rough with southeast to east winds at 25 to 34 knots. Now before we go, a quick recap of our main stories again tonight. 8 vehicles damaged after a semi-trailer crashed into the pile. Also, more anger expressed over the Repentance Day Advert, and pictures tonight of the shabby conditions that policemen live in. Well, that wraps up the news, sports and weather tonight. From the news team, I'm Tokana Hasavi Jr. Thanks for your company. You take care and stay happy. Good night.